Okay, I think after watching Week 15 in the NFL, we could just all agree that the NFL is on drugs, right? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Podcast, a podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. How the hell am I supposed to do power rankings after that week? Grossi, and today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams in the NFL heading into Week 16. It's being played on Christmas Eve and Christmas this year, folks. Who's on the naughty list and who's on the nice list? I don't know, but honestly, those arbitrary thoughts about Santa are probably more relevant than this. Was that really deep or dumb? I don't know. Before we jump into the top 10, I wanted to do an honorable mention. A team that has not worked its way into the power rankings, and if I go back, I don't know if they've ever been in the power rankings, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got my honorable mention because, listen, they're trending upwards. Trevor Lawrence these past couple of weeks has looked real good. They just had an upset victory over the Dallas Cowboys in overtime. The defense played well. Zay Jones, good God, absolutely tore up the Cowboys, and Travis Etienne was very successful on the ground. They have a shot to make the playoffs, considering the Titans are just in free fall. The Jaguars play the Titans the very last week of the season, and I just wanted to give them their due. And while you haven't reached the list of the sacred Grossi top 10 just yet, just know
we will watch your career with great interest.
And just another little aside before we get into this, I honestly have no idea. The top 5 teams, I have a good sense of yeah, this feels right. After that, there was some blown games, shocking upsets, and just overall craziness and debauchery. So I don't know anymore.
This chicanery?
The Vikings are on here because they had a comeback win. The Lions are still on here, but I feel like the Lions are too high. But then again, I think the Vikings are too high. But then you look at a team like the Chargers. Yeah, they're okay. And then the Cowboys, they just lost. What are we doing? All I'm saying is
he defecated through a sunroof.
So with that, let's start off with number 10, and that is going to be the Miami Dolphins. There are other teams I thought about putting over here, but it's not going to be the Titans because I just don't believe in them enough. The Jets are coming off a loss. The Giants, I don't believe in them enough either. And the Dolphins, it kind of just makes a little bit more sense to me. And it's not that I'm just trying to keep them on the list because, listen, they've lost their past 3 games. However, this game against the Buffalo Bills is the most confident I've been about the Dolphins in basically the past month because they finally looked like the Dolphins of old last week. And honestly, after the game on Saturday being played in the cold at night in Buffalo, I'm thinking the Dolphins are hey, this home field advantage the Bills had it's too much. So the next game, we're playing here.
So good being home.
But there were things that worked well for the Dolphins in a losing effort against the Buffalo Bills. One, the run game. Just hand it off to Raheem Mostert all the time. Trust me, I know from experience, he could just absolutely demolish you. They had 188 rushing yards on the ground. On top of that, Jalen Waddle was the breakout receiver from this game. And yes, they lost. Yes, the defense still doesn't look that great. And Josh Allen was able to do kind of whatever the hell he wanted. But the Dolphins were competitive, and it was against a good football team. They got their ass handed to them by the 49ers. They lost to the Chargers in an ugly Sunday night game last week. And here, maybe this is just something they build upon. They're still in the playoffs right now, and while there is definitely some concern because they have lost a few games these past few weeks, I think they still have it in front of them. They have a Christmas Day meeting at home against the Green Bay Packers, which honestly, I'm terrified for. And then they finish off the year against 2 division opponents. So the Dolphins, you're sticking it at number 10 because I believe in you. A little bit. I believe in you a little bit. Let's see if you let me down. Number 9, you got the Dallas Cowboys. I just don't get you, Cowboys. And here I was sitting in my living room today on my couch, and I was watching the Texans and the Chiefs, and they were battling it out, and the Texans were giving the Chiefs a really hard time, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I judged the Cowboys too harshly last week because the Texans, listen, they had a good first half against the Eagles, and of course, they gave the Cowboys lots of issues last week, and I was like, you know what? Maybe the Texans are just a better team than their 1-win record indicates. But then you lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jaguars, as I mentioned, they're an honorable mention team, but it was the way that you lost. It was the way that you got destroyed on the ground. It was the way that Zay Jones scored 3 touchdowns on you, and it was the way that you just completely self-destructed.
What's that? It's blowing up from the inside.
And then you go into overtime, and the play call, what are you doing? Dak makes a throw, it gets batted up in the air, it's a pick 6, and just like that, the Cowboys lost. And we've just been wondering about the Cowboys. Are they fraudulent? Are they for real? This is not going to help any naysayers. I still think that the Cowboys are a good team. They have dominated teams before. The real test is going to be this Saturday against the Philadelphia Eagles in an absolutely huge game, not only for playoff implications, but also kind of just for a confidence boost as well. Let's see how you can hang. You have Dak Prescott back because you didn't have him their first matchup against the Eagles. Let's see how this goes. The Cowboys are a bit beat up after this past Sunday, and they're going to need every hand on deck for this Saturday going up against the best team, not only in the NFC, but arguably the league. Godspeed. Number 8. I feel no confidence with this, but you got the LA Chargers, and let me be very clear here. It's not because of their win over the Titans. While that was good, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, it really wasn't pretty. Justin Herbert, yeah, you needed a new coach. He didn't throw a single touchdown, so.
I don't think the system works.
Yeah. The run defense didn't look so great. Derrick Henry was able to get over 100 yards on the day. And so you might be wondering, Tom, why the hell are the Chargers even on this list? Well, it's not just because they're trending in the right direction. They had that win over the Dolphins. Now they have it over the Titans. It's because of who they're getting back. That defense, which is definitely an issue, they're supposed to get Bosa back soon. Derwin James is going to make a comeback one of these days, and that will make this team better. They might be getting healthy at the right time, and I think that could potentially put them over the edge to make it into the postseason. Now, they still need to fix a lot of things, especially on offense. The offensive line, Justin Herbert is usually running for his life. On top of that, I just do not trust Staley at all. So the Chargers, I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl or anything like that, but I think they're good contenders to get into the postseason. They just need to continue to have these gritty wins. Hopefully they get healthy soon, and then we'll see what they got. Number 7. You got the purple incarnation of Satan. You got the Minnesota Vikings. Where do I rank you, Vikings? Where? You were losing 33-0 at home in the first half. And the boos, they were beautiful. I loved them so much. And then your defense started playing well. The Colts started collapsing. Your offense started putting it together. And Kevin O'Connell basically said,
never tell me the odds.
And you frickin' won in overtime. You're now the winners of the NFC North this season, and I hate all of it. Has this helped anybody think you're not fraudulent? Absolutely not. It's impressive because it's the biggest NFL comeback of all time. But again, it was against the Colts. The Colts, who are not a good football team at all. So yeah, there's definitely some worry here. But at the end of the day, the Vikings, you're currently the number 2 seed. You won the division, so you stamped your freaking passport, and it's saying, all aboard, going to the freaking postseason. I think you're going to probably get eliminated after the wild card round. But again, with the NFC this year and how everything is so chaotic, who the hell knows? So congrats, Vikings. You did it. And I hate it. Number 6. Again, I don't even think they should be this high. But who else goes here? The Detroit Lions. They're ahead of the Vikings because they beat the Vikings a week ago. And they got a gritty win over the Jets. Was it a good game? No. Was it a pretty game? Oh, hell no. But on 4th and inches, they got a tutty, and they did enough. Zach Wilson, for a hot second, looked good. Then Zach Wilson remembered who he was, and I ain't talking about a mother lover. Instead, Zach Wilson getting some turnovers. But listen, it's the grit of the Lions that you just have to applaud. The fact that this team started 1-6 and now they are 7-7. That is impressive, and I don't care who you talk to. The Lions have a very approachable path to the postseason, and it might come down to the game against the Packers in Week 18. They did play against a very good defense in the Jets, who have given teams fits all year, so that is nothing to shake your head at. But the Lions, there are some things that do give me pause. They do have some things that give me a concern. But Dan Campbell right now in the city of Detroit,
they're using a very primitive dialect, but I do believe they think I am some sort of god.
and it's hard to disagree with them. Number 5, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, Chiefs. Well, you got another ugly win, but it's a win.
Another happy landing.
You beat the Texans in overtime after 2 turnovers. And yeah, there's some concerns here. The good news is you won the division again. So you're AFC West champions. You're definitely going into the postseason. But this has kind of become a pattern here in which the Chiefs have had some real ugly games. And they're not against great opponents. I did give the Texans some credit because they have gone toe-to-toe with some teams. But the Chiefs, man, yeah, I thought that they would blow the Texans out of the water, and they did just the opposite. Davis Mills looked pretty darn good against you. You had 2 big mistakes there with fumbles. And you just have to wonder, are these kind of mistakes going to follow you into the postseason? Because Patrick Mahomes, he's made some mistakes. And I think it's real good that you have your run game because Pacheco has been good. But yeah, I just think that there's some red flags here. And it's not just because that's the color of your team and jerseys. But the Chiefs, listen, I still think you're a top 5 team. I think you are still significantly better than like the Detroit Lions and the rest of this list, but yeah, you're hanging out at number 5, and you would have been lower if you lost to the Texans. Number 4, you got the Cincinnati Bengals. Woof, that was a brutal first half. They had no run game whatsoever, but then in the second half, they were like, oh, wait a minute. We're good this year. Now you've won 6 straight and you demolished the Bucs in the second half. The defense causing 4 turnovers. Joe Burrow crushed it in the second half. Had 4 passing touchdowns. And did I mention the 4 turnovers that your defense also forced? And there was a little tidbit on TV that I saw that Joe Burrow has now passed Tom Brady this season for fourth quarter comebacks. And so looks like Joe Burrow is ahead of Tom Brady right now, huh?
Now I am the master.
But honestly, this is a kind of win that I wanted to see out of the Bengals. It was another gritty win. They've had a couple of those this season, and they are trending upwards. They're leaders of their division right now, and honestly, with the way that the North is playing, I don't think anybody's going to catch them. The Ravens, they're going to get Lamar Jackson back, but the Bengals, I feel really confident in. I love their defense right now, even though they definitely struggled in that first half. They rallied around as a team, roared back, defeated the Buccaneers, and are currently sitting at number 4. Number 3, you got the Buffalo Bills with their 5th straight win. A great win for the Bills against a resurging Dolphins team who they lost to earlier this season. And now you continue to be in the driver's seat to win your division. Though I think it was hilarious, the fact that Bills fans, every single time the Dolphins got near the red zone, started throwing snowballs. And I had to imagine they felt like they were doing this. But instead it just led to a delay of game. So yeah, don't throw snowballs or dildos. Don't throw anything. But 4 passing touchdowns for Josh Allen, who had himself a great day. Definitely some concerns about the run defense there, as Mostert was able to basically do whatever the heck he wanted. But overall, the Bills, as I said, they've won 5 straight. They've earned all those wins. Some of them have been very, very close, like against the Lions or now against the Dolphins. But these are the kind of wins that you need in order to prepare yourself for the postseason. I think the Bills are ready for that. And as long as they don't run into any coins, they should be okay. Number 2, you got the San Francisco 49ers. They have won 7 straight games. That's impressive. What they did to the Seahawks on Thursday night reminded me of this. it just wasn't pretty. What was pretty? Brock Purdy continuing to play well. The defense is absolutely no joke, as the Seahawks really just couldn't get anything going until the very end of that game. CMC was the workhorse, 22 carries, had 108 yards on the night. And the 49ers right now, they are, I think, the biggest contenders to go against the Eagles and actually win. The 49ers are a great football team that have amazing pieces around it. Their offensive line is great. They have all these skill positions, and they can just kind of plug and play whoever they want back there at QB. And Brock Purdy is playing the game pretty well. Got off to a really hot start, kind of slowed down a bit, but then they said, okay, well, let's lean on CMC. And it was like talking to Kurt Benkert, that basically the idea was when Jimmy Garoppolo was playing, those players are going, it's our job to make him look good. And right now, those players are doing just that. They aren't a team that's built for comebacks, but I will say that defense, I don't think they're going to find themselves in many situations where they're going to have to do just that. The Eagles are one of those teams that I think could put points on them, but until we see that showdown, right now, 49ers are at number 2. And finally, at number 1, to no surprise, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. Rough first half against the Chicago Bears. The offensive line, which is supposed to be one of the best ones in the league, was kind of crumbling against the pass rushers of the Chicago Bears. Jalen Hurts had some picks, but then realized, hey, I could just run the ball.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
17 carries for 61 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, that'll do it. And Jalen Hurts continues to show that he can just beat you with his feet. He can beat you with his arm. It really doesn't matter. The defense also had 6 sacks on Justin Fields. They were able to get after a bad offensive line of the Chicago Bears. And the Eagles, again, just come away with another win. The Eagles are arguably the most consistent team in football. I know they lost to the Washington Commanders, but I think just they've gotten stronger as the year has gone on. You could argue about the competition that they've played, but honestly, let's look at anybody on this list. Who is surpassing them right now? 1 and 2. Have any of these other teams have been as consistent? Maybe you look at the Bengals, but I think the Eagles are a better team, though that would be a fun matchup. We just talked about the 49ers, who have won 7 straight, but the Eagles, I think, are still week by week the best team in the league. Saturday, they have the Cowboys. With one more win, they clinch the division. So let's see if the Eagles are able to do just that on Christmas Eve. So to recap, at number 1, we got the Eagles. Number 2, the 49ers. 3, the Bills. 4, the Bengals. 5, the Chiefs. 6, the Lions. 7, the Vikings. 8, Chargers. 9, Cowboys. And 10, Dolphins. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What teams do you think should be on this list? Who should be higher, lower? Because it's week 16, and the fact that it's still a crapshoot just means chaos is reigning. But let me know. You guys find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.